Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Terror Tuesday, or Terrorist Tuesday, here on SecurityGuardNews.com, where we talk about things related to terrorism in your world. Now, we're going to talk about something today you probably have not heard about. And Sean, when I heard this, I cocked my head and said, what? This is a weird one. And I don't think we're going to find this on most news stations. We got it from, was it The Guardian in the UK? Is that where the story came from?
Yep.
And this has to do with, I'm going to call it a terrorist attack. And if you don't like it, send me an email, please. But sonic attacks in Cuba. Tell us about this. This is crazy.
So they don't know that it's absolutely sonic attacks, but they're associating it as incidences. And it's a pretty serious issue because I guess in Havana, they're going to evacuate, the U.S. Department of State is going to evacuate 60% of their employees out of the country. Presumably what is happening is it's a sonic attack as we see some of the symptoms that are emerging. And the Guardian reported fatigue, dizziness, balance issues, hearing loss. And the article also went on to say that some of the individuals that were affected that are now in the States described previously they heard like a rumbling sound or a high-pitched rumbling sound, and this was when they were in their hotel or what have you. So it looks like these individuals have been specifically targeted, and we might see a new weapon out there right now. Well,
this sounds like, remember the book Dune and then the movie Dune? They had sonic weapons, remember? Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Somebody I know back in the 80s, very early 80s, worked at an engineering firm, and they had an expert in there who was a sound expert, and they were developing this weapon in the early 1980s. And literally, you would shout into it, broadcast, whatever you want to do, and it disrupts your inner ear, it disrupts all kinds of things. So that's a real possibility. It really does sound like somebody's testing a weapon. We don't let facts get in the way here on Security Guard News, of course, but we'll speculate. Pretty scary stuff. It reminds me of that device you showed me when I came out to see you a couple years ago, where they use this for crowd control, where people are yelling and screaming, and this device rebroadcasts their voice back to them in a delay. And what it does is it actually shuts your brain down and you can't talk anymore. But this is, of course, more serious. Very, very interesting. And it's only targeting Americans so far. Is that what we know?
Well, apparently the information is that it's only happening at a U.S. Embassy base, or U.S. Embassy in Havana.
Oh, just at the base.
So that, well, at the U.S. Embassy in Havana. That's where apparently these people are being targeted, not necessarily at the U.S. Embassy, but there was some information that they indicated hearing this when they were in their hotel room or what have you. So it sounds directional in nature, very similar to the device that I showed you. And I'm very familiar with that non-lethal weaponry that you talked about, where it talks about basically the sound would cause balance issues.
Right.
But I wonder if the fix is just as easy as putting in some earplugs, because that was the fix for the non-lethal device that you're talking about. You just basically had to wear headphones or earplugs, and you could basically blank it out.
Right.
So it's interesting to see. Yeah. So I don't know if they really need to, evacuate 60% of the people. Maybe they just need to give them some earplugs for the near term. But again, we talk about knee-jerk reactions and stuff, right? Better safe than sorry. But I think it's interesting because we might see a new weapon, and I see some other applicability to this type of weapon in other types of environments.
Well, I think this weapon is already out there and deployed on a wide scale, and we're not really even paying attention to that. And that would be the evening news. That's a bunch of nonsense and noise, half kidding aside. But that's a good story to follow. How long ago did this happen, by the way?
Well, I picked it up about 2-3 weeks ago. And
I haven't heard a peep from anybody about it. I haven't heard anything on the regular news.
It didn't go in any of the news medias that I saw. I tried to validate it with some other resources. There are some other news services, but not like CBS, NBC, or what have you. At the time I looked at it. Now it might have caught on, but I just think that this would be something that many would be interested in. I think this has some applicability to individuals that have international operations, security managers have international operations following these types of attacks and these types of tactics, because it could create some business continuity issues for their companies.
Absolutely. Well, once again, a very interesting story from SecurityGuideNews.com here on Terrorist Tuesday. We try to keep you up to date on the latest stories that you might not have heard someplace else. So until next Tuesday, be safe. Thank you, Mr. Sean.
We'll talk soon.